They're going to say stat increases because radiation obviously makes you a superhero.
Gives you superpowers, of course. Yeah. But
honestly, you could do that in a tabletop game.
You could. Game mechanics time. Game mechanics time. I know you love those subjects. Subjects.
Those.
Yeah.
Topics.
It's subjects and topics at the same time. Topics. I want to talk about radiation. And
I'm not a fan. Personally, keep it away from me.
Okay, so hot take for this episode is Alex is coming out against radiation. Okay.
Ionizing radiation specifically.
Oh, thank you for clarifying that. Not all radiation, folks. Anyway, what I wanted to talk about is one of the mechanics that you see in Fallout frequently is radiation mechanics. Fallout.
Quick question.
Yes.
Is that due to the Fallout?
Yes, Alex. Actually, I think that has something to do with the name of the series. There were, nuclear bombs that dropped, and then there was radiation.
Yeah, a lot of it.
Yeah. So, the thing about it is that this is not exclusive to Fallout. There are other games that do radiation and do it in very different ways. And I kind of wanted to talk about a few of the examples of how radiation is implemented and how it can be utilized in your game. Because I don't think in a lot of tabletop games they really have radiation as a mechanic, so to speak.
I mean, I've not played a tabletop game set in a Fallout-type universe.
That's true. And they probably do have radiation skills for that. In Fallout, though, since we're there, we'll start with that. Fallout 4, specifically, has a whole lot of negatives to your stats as you go through different progressions of radiation poisoning. You hit certain points, and all of a sudden your endurance, your strength, your stats start to decline, and it makes it much harder for you to do stuff as you get radiation poisoning. In some other games, there's Chernobylite. For those of you who haven't played it, I like Chernobylite just fine.
I have not played it, but it is on my wish list because Chernobylite 2 is coming out soon.
So excited about that. That one, and there's going to be a new Stalker game, too.
Have you played Stalker?
I have played Stalker, yes. Stalker is...
Didn't know if you liked them.
Stalker is, it's kind of hardcore. I don't think I really made it past the first area of Stalker Heart of Chernobyl. Because it is, it's a shooter. It is definitely a shooter more than anything, but boy howdy, there are just areas where you're like, oh, I just insta-die in these areas.
I've seen that one guy, Librarian, plays those.
Yeah.
So he's done playthroughs of them.
Yes.
On his channel.
Yeah. And also Metro Exodus, which I've
played that.
I've played Metro Exodus, yeah. And I like Metro Exodus a lot. And I've played the other Metro game. Why are there so many games set in the nuclear apocalypse, like in Russia and Ukraine, around Chernobyl?
They had a nuclear meltdown. So, it's just based on real world stuff, just extrapolated.
I do have to say that I find it interesting because I think all of those games are actually developed by Ukrainian developers, and so they're all set around Chernobyl. So, and it's like, oh, that makes sense. like that makes sense that they might have a personal relationship with that. But yeah, in Chernobylite, the way that radiation works is that when you get into radiation areas, it caps your health bar. So it's not that it's really taking your health down specifically, but it is starting to give you a red line area where basically you can't regenerate that unless you get over your radiation sickness.
Yeah, Fallout does that too.
Yeah, Fallout. Some of the Fallout games have done that too. Metro Exodus does something interesting, which is they don't have a health bar or a stamina bar like most games, but what they have is a gas mask. And so if you get into radiation zones, you have to make sure that you have your gas mask on and that you have to change your filters out periodically in order
I'm
to
wondering
make sure...
how that works with radiation, since a gas mask would not protect against radiation.
Well, the gas from the flames, that is one thing. If you're in radiative areas, because they have that specifically, you also can't stay in those areas too long without just straight up dying. Like, you just... Because there's no health bar.
If there's an area that's got particulates in the atmosphere still that are radioactive, the gas mask would help because it's filtering those out, hopefully.
Right.
I think that would probably work. Don't quote me. I'm not a scientist.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, like, you can't enter the Chernobyl exclusion area without, like, a full-on radiation hazmat suit. Or at least you can go to certain parts for short durations of time.
Yeah.
Because your body can handle a bit of radiation, but it can't handle a lot of radiation. So, like,
true.
You are allowed a certain amount of time that you can be there, and then you have to leave.
Right. I think, if I remember correctly, most parts of Chernobyl now are not particularly radiative. So
it's gotten better.
It's gotten significantly better than...
Well,
from where it was. But, at a certain point, it dies off. Which is one of the reasons why it's interesting in Fallout, because Fallout takes place, like, hundreds of years after the bombs fell, that there would be a lot of areas of radiation, because it will fall off eventually, but they did do something smart where you notice that it's usually around places with, like, undetonated nuclear bombs, or in the glowing sea, because there's just, like, literally a bunch of radiative waste out there and stuff. Like, they try to be smart about it in that way. The point, though, that I wanted to make is that there's a lot of different ways that mechanically games have handled radiation. And so I was trying to figure out, like, let's say we wanted to put this into your typical old tabletop game or something like that. Like, how could we actually implement that? What kind of things would we do? Would we do stat decreases? Would we do health decreases? Would we make it harder for them to run and walk? Or, like...
I would say, personally, I would do, like, stat decreases and health decreases, obviously. Making it harder to run, maybe once, like, radiation sickness is kicking in.
Yeah.
Nausea, vomiting.
Sure. Yeah. If I would also say one thing that would be really interesting, instead of stat decreases, negatives to your savings throws.
I thought you were going to say stat increases, because radiation obviously makes you a superhero.
Gives you superpowers, of course.
Yeah.
But
honestly, you could do that in a tabletop game.
You could. Actually, you could take feats. This would be interesting, is if you could take feats that would actually benefit you. Like, like if you were able to play, like, a ghoul, in that world, or a super mutant. There might be actual ways to negate that, or even benefit you. Because I believe for ghouls, radiation will actually heal you. Oh, actually, come to think of it, in Fallout 4, I think ghoul is one of the perks that you get, which makes radiation change entirely.
Take one from that, yeah.
But me personally, I would think things like Constitution saving throws would be the thing that would be really difficult. Will saves, stuff like that.
Oh yeah, con saves definitely, and then strength checks, because your body will get weaker.
Yeah.
So you get more irradiated.
I could even see that if you had levels of that periodically every day or whatever, depending on how much radiation you have to make saving throws. You have to, like, make a Constitution saving throw.
That makes sense.
Yeah, to kind of, like, go, are you going to lose some hit points or something like that? Or is a limb going to fall off? What's happening here? Do you grow a third?
I would like a video game that doesn't tell you you're being irradiated. Like, it doesn't tell you that you're taking radiation damage explicitly. But, like, maybe the camera view starts getting speckled.
Yes.
Because then it's like, wait a second. I mean, honestly, you wouldn't see that if you were just looking at your visor, perhaps. Like, if you just had a helmet on.
Right.
Because your eyes would not necessarily see that, but a camera would pick it up.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And so maybe, like, if you've got, like, a Master Chief helmet where you've got the helmet with the HUD, maybe that would start getting speckled.
Right. They, I believe it was in Metro that had something similar to that. Like if you...
I think it's with the camera, right?
Yeah, with the camera. Yeah, you start to see that there's actual interference. But they also give you like a Geiger counter. So if you have the Geiger counter out, you'd be able to register that you're getting close to an area like that. If I remember correctly, though... Oh, I guess they give you a Geiger counter in Stalker as well. So I like the idea of doing something like saving throws and then having to figure out how to cure your radiation sickness. That's going to be a whole other set of mechanics. I wouldn't want to do it with just basic heals. That's the thing. Wouldn't just want to be a healing spell or a potion. I'd want it to be specific to that because it is different from healing off some points of health. You know, maybe it's a specific potion. Maybe it's a poison. I don't know.
Maybe you have lead armor.
Would that work?
Yeah.
If it's head to toe. Yeah.
Full plate.
You gotta traverse the landscape in a giant iron ball. Like you're a you're a steampunk gerbil. That's what you... I need a steampunk gerbil ball. Hold on. That's the name of the episode.
Steampunk Gerbil
Ball. Anyway, so Steampunk Gerbil Ball is happening. I think that there's some relatively interesting mechanics that can be done with it. You don't necessarily even need to call it radiation if you're in a fantasy setting. If you're not doing post-apocalypse or cyberpunk or anything like that, because you can definitely implement it there. But in a fantasy setting, I don't know. In like a medieval kind of setting, maybe not. But there's definitely similar things that you could implement, like poison or, poison gas clouds, stuff like that, that would inhibit your lungs, that would make it harder to breathe, that would make it harder for you to, swing a sword, that might cause blurry vision. Actually, that would be kind of interesting if you started to get decreases to, maybe like dexterity, because now it's harder for you to see or harder for you to aim, because, your vision starts to get blurry, something like that.
Yeah.
I could see that as being a really interesting way to do the mechanic. Since you've played a few games,
one or two.
I'm going to assume you've played a few that had radiation mechanics, or radiation was involved. Was there something you found interesting? I'm not gonna say one that you like, because no one likes to get radiation poisoning.
Yeah, as I said, no thank you.
No thank you. We're coming out strongly against radiation poisoning. But were there mechanics around radiation that you found particularly interesting? Even maybe some of the ones I might have mentioned previously.
I think the camera degradation one.
Yeah.
Or if you're taking, what was infra, I think.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Did that. Where you're taking pictures of the crumbling infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
And just part of the areas, and you look at the film, and it's like, these are really degraded from the radiation getting in there. The camera will pick it up, and it will show on film. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a really cool mechanic.
Yes.
Which is the same thing that was going with the visor. If you have a HUD display, and the radiation can interfere with your computing systems and the visual system of that. If you can see the speckles on the edge of your screen or whatever, that would be cool. I don't know if a game does that specifically, but I think that one would probably be my favorite.
Sure.
Because you're not gonna see radiation.
Yeah.
It's invisible. You don't see it, you're not gonna feel it until you feel it.
Yeah.
And if you're feeling it, it is probably too late.
That whole idea about the thumb.
Yeah.
Remember that?
It does not work.
Yeah. There's this classic thing about Fall Out Boy where not the band, but the Pip-Boy boy.
Vault Boy.
Yeah, Vault Boy. Where you have the thumb up, and the idea is that if you extend your thumb out and it can cover the mushroom cloud of the blast, then you're outside of the blast radius. Not true. Do not use that as a metric.
TLDR, if you see a mushroom cloud, you're fucked.
If you can see the mushroom cloud time to get right with whatever god you believe in, because it's not great.
Yeah. So the thing about that, and I'm sure anyone listening to this is probably aware of, the explosion is not the thing you really should be concerned about with a nuclear detonation. Yes, it is bad. It is big. They are the lucky ones.
Yep.
Yeah. Because being killed by explosion, pretty quick. I assume painless.
By the time you know that it's coming, it's over.
Death by radiation sickness is painful and slow. Unless you get such a lethal dose, like demon core levels of radiation. It is nasty. Your skin falls off, your hair falls out, your teeth fall out. You know, your body just goes, we're going to turn into mush now.
Yes. And it's not a fun process, which is why there's always this kind of, like, blessing and a curse thing for the ghouls, because the ghouls were able to survive through the radiation, but they became horribly mutated from the process, and most of them end up going feral anyway in the Fallout universe. It just to maintain your sanity and your humanity is a struggle in itself for the ghouls. So
So the explosion, this, if you can see a mushroom cloud and you're trying to do this to see if you're safe from the blast, you might not be in the explosion zone, but you are in the fallout radius.
Yes.
And that is by far way worse.
Yeah. Hope you have an iron shield to put in front of you or something, because, you're not... Also, the whole hiding under your desk thing also does not work.
A duck and cover, let's go.
Yeah. The updated part of that is to tell kids, yes, you're going to hide under your desk and kiss your ass goodbye, because there is no way you are getting out of that.
Got it. We're doing the chicken run thing.
Yes, I really like Chernobylite. I want to play more of it one day. I just had put it away for a bit.
Second one is coming out.
Again, this is a good reason to get back to it. And as much as I do like it and think that people should try playing it, I do have to say that their radiation mechanic, where it's pretty much just like your bar goes down, is a fairly simple one. It's effective. You can like see it and you can say, oh, okay, I guess I gotta get out of here and figure out how to negate my radiation, or I'm gonna be in trouble. But it is pretty simplistic in its framing. I liked what they did with, like, Fallout 4. And I think the reason I liked what they did with Fallout 4 was because they made it seem like an incremental issue over the course of many, many steps, where there were specific things that happened to you, almost like they were thinking about, like, well, if you only have 100 rads, then you're going to get a little bit weaker, but as you get higher, these are going to add up, and it's going to be harder for you to do things in the game. It is also meshed with a descending health bar that goes along with it, but I like that. Until you get to full radiation, and basically your endurance goes down to 0, at which point you just die. They do just blip out of existence. That being said, though, I don't love the way that Fallout implements negation techniques when it comes to radiation. Yeah, it's like, as long as you power up with... Keep some rad away. Just keep plugging that in, and it just automatically goes down.
You just got your anti-radiation EpiPen on you.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is. It's just,
I think they should just add a lead sunscreen.
A lead sunscreen, yes. Yeah.
You just spread this lead all over your body. It's lead body paint.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing can go wrong.
No! You're not going to get poisoned from that. You have to worry about. You're not going to get
neurotoxins in your body from the lead.
No, it's like sunscreen. Yeah. Definitely
won't soak into your skin.
Now we have to determine what's worse, the radiation or the lead poisoning.
Probably radiation.
Yeah. I guess still, yeah. I guess you're still...
But lead poisoning is not good either.
It's also not preferable. You probably don't want to do that either.
I think lead poisoning makes you go slightly insane, doesn't it?
Yes. I'm going to say yes.
That's what caused the downfall of the Roman Empire, right?
I mean, a lot of things probably caused the downfall, but that was a fact.
They were spicing their wine with lead.
Yeah, you see, you want to avoid that.
Because apparently lead is kind of sweet.
Yes.
I have not tried.
No, I have not tried putting lead in my... But I know that they tried to not have the lead in water.
Yes.
And it's also the reason why when they, switched to unleaded gas, they found that there were less health issues. That's the reason why they took the lead out of the gas, too.
Less mental health issues, especially.
Yes, because it's not in the air.
No.
It's not in the air, it's in the lungs, yes.
Yeah, because lead is a neurotoxin.
Yeah. Turns out that was a bad thing.
So it affects your brain.
Yeah, back to Fallout for a second, though. Radaway and Radex are kind of like a real quick way to negate those situations. I kind of would have liked to have something more engaging, like that you could temporarily stop it, and then you'd have to get to some kind of a facility where you could actually get into almost a chamber or something where they'd have to hook you up and
get into that iron lung.
You have to get into the iron lung, yeah, in order to replace, get rid of your radiation past that. But realistically, if you go into the glowing sea in Fallout 4 and you're just stocked up with Radex and Radaway, you might get addicted to it, but then you get the addiction negation drug to get rid of that too. And so a Dictol, I want to say, it's just you get rid of all your addictions. Carry some of that too and you're gonna be fine. You're gonna be fine.
You just keep pumping your body full of Radaway, it's fine.
Yeah, just Radaway. Yeah, listen, I used it all the time. I think that there are a lot of really interesting mechanics around radiation or other kind of poisoning that you can do that would be far more interesting than just, you have a health decrease. So I've seen it occasionally, I've seen it implemented in different ways, and I'd like to see it expanded upon. I'd like to see it in tabletop games, and maybe there are some that do, I'm just not familiar with them.
Maybe.
So I guess this is the question for any of the tabletop folks that are out there listening to this. Are you familiar with the system, maybe set in the post-apocalypse, that kind of thing? Maybe one this Fallout. I don't know if there is one. But do you know if they've implemented a radiation mechanic and how it was implemented? If it's closer to one of the games we've been talking about, or if it was wholly unique to that? You can let us know in the comments down below.